Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Gregoire, your association's legislative director. I'm joined today again by Dave Lucas, our director of intergovernmental affairs and finance. This is part of our NYSAC news video update, state of the state recap message to our county members that's been going on all week. Today is day 4 of the governor's state of the state briefing, and it was the last day of the governor's state of the state briefing. The governor really focused on making large-scale, long-term investments in public infrastructure and projects that will help spur economic development for years to come, in the governor's words. So, Dave, the governor really highlighted his goal of creating a $51 billion investment in the west side of Midtown Manhattan, which is going to include a series of new projects, including rehabilitating Penn Station, adding new tracks to that complex, developing more capacity at the Javits Center, connecting and creating some new parks in Midtown Manhattan. And the governor also talked about a series of upstate New York investments, including redesigning and redoing the Buffalo Skyway, turning that into a public use space, another initiative in Albany, including a skyway here, and a couple other opportunities throughout upstate, a new ski lodge at Whiteface Mountain, which I'm excited about as a skier. But one overall theme that the governor really talked about was his connection and advocacy with the federal government to ensure that these projects have some federal dollars behind them. The governor talked about how New York State couldn't do this alone, right? They need a federal partner to really create these large-scale projects. And here at NYSAC, we've been doing something very similar. I mean, this past summer, we sent a letter to President Trump requesting a $9.4 billion allocation if a comprehensive infrastructure bill were to be passed in Congress. And we're saying the same thing the governor is. We need the federal government to come to the table to help local counties make these significant investments in our infrastructure to help spur economic development, which was the message that at least I heard from the governor this morning. Did you want to add some more details on what you heard and what you're thinking?
Sure, I kind of got the same message that you did from these state of the state discussions of the way the governor proposed them this year. You know, they're a little thin on detail, but that's not unusual for a state of the state. But this is really focused on, you know, the first priority is to beat down COVID and move past that. But you have to acknowledge the COVID pandemic has done a lot of damage to the New York economy. In a big way to move past that, we need to rejuvenate the economy and, you know, as the governor said, build back better. And I think even President-elect Biden's been talking about using infrastructure as a means to boost the economy quickly and to invest for the next century, which the governor highlighted today. And of course, you know, we have limited resources here. The state's near its bonding authority. It's near its debt cap. And a lot of this stuff is going to be paid for with debt. So you're going to have a federal partner in this. And some of the projects, you know, some of these are federal assets. You know, Amtrak owns some of these tunnels. They own Penn Station. We can't just go in and rebuild their stuff. We need to have a willing partner there. And I think one thing Congress does like doing is building projects. There's a lot of bipartisan support for infrastructure. There's always a fight over how you're going to pay for it at the end of the day. But this type of initiative at this time, you know, I think does have some traction in Washington. And hopefully we'll see some support from the federal government as well. But it's pretty clear the governor wants to move forward on what he can on his own, and also to partner with the federal government and the new administration to move these projects forward and get New Yorkers back to work. It's, you know, the bottom line is our economy's pretty damaged right now, especially for certain sectors of the economy and people in certain at the lower end of the wage scale. And a lot of these types of projects are things where people can move into them, earn a good wage, or, get new skills and move into these types of activities that he's talked about over the last 4 days. So a rising tide is going to lift all boats in this situation. And I think that's part of the vision he's trying to put on the table here.
Yeah, I think you brought up some really good points, Dave. And I think that's a perfect segue into what I was just about to say, which the takeaway message over the last 4 days, really, it's a little different than years past, right? I mean, the governor historically has laid out a state of the state, and to your point, the devils are in the details, and we'll probably get some more information next week, hopefully when the executive budget proposal is released. But the state of the state historically has laid out some direct policies and programs that are going to impact county governments. This year, I didn't hear as much of that. I heard much more longer term grand project initiatives, a lot of philanthropic partners that the governor talked about yesterday and on Tuesday in his State of the State message on the green economy and making investments there. So it sounds like, and that speaks to the situation the state of New York is in right now, right? They're facing a tremendous budget deficit. We have COVID-19 still pounding on our doors. The counties are certainly beyond busy responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. And for our members who are listening to this video and may have missed the prior State of the State speeches, we're going to have to see what the executive budget proposes and the direct policy implications to county governments. This year's State of the State was a little different than historic years. But before we wrap it up here, Dave, is there anything else you wanted to add, either on this comment just now or anything else the governor talked about?
I think you summed it up nicely. It's we're really look forward to see what's in the budget next week and how the legislature, what the legislature thinks of these proposals. Again, I think they like doing infrastructure as well. It's a question of how you support the funding to make it happen. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, so for all of our listeners, the budget is expected to drop on Tuesday, January 19th, the day after Martin Luther King Day. NYSAC, of course, will recap that information as quickly as we can for you, but I do want to stress that we like to provide a detailed analysis as much as we can. We don't want to just send out a communication without some meat behind it. And also, hopefully, we'll be reconvening this NYSAC news video update. But of course, for our listeners, stay tuned. Take a look at us on Twitter, on social media. Visit us on our website, www.nysac.org, and we'll be providing everyone with updates as we go along here in this new session. So thanks again, Dave, and look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Yep. Thank you for joining us today.